Jack, Hastings said, his voice dropping an octave. Do you realize what you just handed me? This isn't just a civil dispute anymore. This is grand larceny. This is fraud. Depending on the state statutes, forging a title transfer for an asset of this value is a Class B felony. We are talking about prison time, Jack. Real prison time. Not a weekend in county jail.
I'm talking 5 to 10 years in a state penitentiary. I leaned back in my chair. I looked at the ceiling fan spinning slowly above me. I know. That's exactly what I want. But I don't want to just file a paper and wait for a court date in 6 months. I want to end this now. They are throwing a party tomorrow. A barbecue to show off Bella's new face.
All the neighbors will be there. The mayor might even stop by. I want you to come then. Bring the sheriff. Bring the papers. I want to serve them the main course myself. Hastings chuckled, a dry, sharp sound. You're a cold son of a bitch, Jack. I like it. I'll be there at 2 p.m. sharp with the sheriff and a warrant. Get the popcorn ready. I hung up the phone.
I sat there for a moment in the silence. I felt a strange sense of peace. For 3 years I had been the doormat, the mechanic who fixed their cars for free, the husband who paid the utility bills while they bought designer clothes, the junkyard engineer. Tomorrow, the engineer was going to dismantle their lives, piece by piece. I spent the rest of the day in the garden.
I mowed the lawn. I trimmed the hedges. I made sure the property looked perfect for the execution. Tom came out to the porch around sunset, a cigar in his mouth. He looked at the manicured lawn. Good job, Jack. At least you're good for manual labor. Make sure you scrub the grill tonight. I don't want any old grease ruining my Wagyu burgers tomorrow. I looked up at him.
I wiped the sweat from my forehead. Don't worry, Tom. The grill will be spotless. Everything is going to be clean tomorrow. Cleaner than you've ever seen it. He didn't catch the double meaning. He never did. He just puffed on his cigar and went back inside to pour another drink. The next day, the sun was blazing hot. The Harrington farm was buzzing with activity. Cars were lining up along the long driveway. Mercedes, BMWs, Lexuses. The local elite were arriving to pay homage to the aristocratic cattle ranchers. Bella was sitting on a throne-like chair in the middle of the patio. She was wearing a large sun hat to protect her investment. Her bandages were off now. Her nose was small, upturned, and completely artificial. It didn't match her face.
But the guests oohed and awed anyway. Oh, Bella, you look like a movie star. It was worth every penny. Your parents are so generous. I stood by the massive stainless steel grill. The heat was intense. Smoke from the burgers and ribs swirled around me. I was sweating, but I felt cold inside. I checked my watch. 1:58 p.m. 2 minutes to showtime.
Tom was holding court near the pool, a scotch in his hand. Yes, well, we believe in investing in our children, he boasted loudly. Money is just paper, after all. Family is what matters. I almost laughed out loud. Family. The irony was suffocating. 2 p.m. Right on cue. The sound didn't come from the party. It came from the main road. Sirens. Not just a polite chirp, but full-blown, wailing sirens that cut through the music and chatter like a knife. The guests stopped talking. Heads turned toward the driveway. 2 police cruisers tore up the gravel road, dust billowing behind them, followed closely by a black town car. The cruisers screeched to a halt right in front of the garden gate. Red and blue lights flashed, reflecting off the polished windows of the luxury cars. The music died. An uncomfortable silence descended over the party. Tom frowned, looking annoyed rather than scared. He set his drink down and marched toward the gate. What is the meaning of this? Sheriff Miller, is that you? Turn off those damn lights. You're scaring my guests. The car doors opened. Sheriff Miller stepped out. He was a big man, a no-nonsense lawman who had known Tom since high school. Usually he was friendly. Today, his hand was resting near his holster. His face was grim. Behind him, Mr. Hastings stepped out of the black car, carrying a thick leather briefcase. Tom stopped, confused.
Jim, what's going on? Is there a fire? Did one of the cows get loose? Sheriff Miller didn't smile. He walked straight up to Tom. Thomas Harrington. Brenda Harrington. Bella Harrington. I have a warrant for your arrest. A collective gasp went through the crowd. Brenda dropped her plate of appetizers. Ceramic shattered on the patio stones. Arrest? She shrieked.
Are you insane? We are pillars of this community. Arrest us for what? Hastings stepped forward. He adjusted his glasses and opened a file. His voice was calm, projecting clearly across the silent yard. Grand larceny. Forgery of legal documents. Trafficking in stolen goods. And conspiracy to commit fraud. Bella stood up from her throne, her face pale. Theft? We didn't steal anything. This is a mistake. Tell them, Daddy. Tom's face turned a violent shade of purple. This is ridiculous. Who is the accuser? I'll sue them for defamation. I stepped away from the grill. I wiped my hands on a towel. I walked slowly through the crowd of stunned guests. They parted for me like the Red Sea. I am, I said. My voice wasn't loud, but everyone heard it. Tom spun around. You? You called the cops on your own family? Over what? That piece of junk truck? It was trash, Jack. We got $500 for it. You're going to arrest me over $500? He laughed, looking around at his friends for support. Can you believe this guy? He's ruining a party over pocket change.
Hastings cleared his throat. Actually, Mr. Harrington, it wasn't trash. He pulled out the appraisal document, the one with the gold seal. This is a certified valuation from the Classic Car Club of America. The vehicle in question was a 1956 Ford F-100 Custom. Rare Thunderbird V8 engine. Matching numbers. Fully restored interior. Hastings paused for effect.
She was shaking. That makes it a Class B felony, Brenda. 5 to 10 years in prison. Minimum. Mandatory sentencing. Bella started to cry. But I needed the nose job. Mom said it was okay. I can't go to jail. I'm an influencer. I can't take mugshots. The sheriff unclipped his handcuffs. The metal rattled ominously. Turn around, Tom. Hands behind your back. Tom backed away, panic setting in. No, wait! Jack! Jack, listen to me. We can fix this. We're family. You can't send your father-in-law to prison. Think about Brenda. Think about Bella. I crossed my arms. I looked at him with zero sympathy. I am thinking about them, Tom. I'm thinking they will look great in orange jumpsuits. Unless... I let the word hang in the air. Tom froze. Unless what? Anything. Name it. I'll pay you back. I'll write you a check right now. For $215,000? I asked. Do you have that in your account, Tom? Because I know the bank called yesterday about the mortgage. Tom slumped. He knew he didn't have it. He was cash poor, living on credit and appearances. We can work out a payment plan. No payment plans, I snapped. I want my value back. Right now. Or you go to jail. I looked past him. Toward the barn. Toward the lush green pasture where the black cattle were grazing. But you do have assets, Tom. I pointed. The Angus herd. The prize line. Your grandfather's legacy. Tom followed my finger. He went pale. No.
Jack, not the herd. That's the breeding stock. That's the future of this farm. Without them, we have nothing. That took 3 generations to build. I stepped closer to him. I lowered my voice so only he could hear the venom in it. And my truck took 3 years of my life. It was my future. You took mine. Now I take yours. It's a fair trade.
The herd for your freedom. Decide now. The sheriff is waiting. Tom looked at the sheriff. He looked at the handcuffs. He looked at the guests staring in horror. He looked at his sobbing wife and daughter. Then he looked at the cows. His shoulders collapsed. He looked like he had aged 20 years in 20 seconds. Fine, he whispered. Take them. Take them all.
Just make the police go away. I nodded. I turned to the sheriff. It's a civil settlement, Sheriff. If they transfer the livestock ownership immediately, I won't press charges. The sheriff lowered the cuffs, but didn't put them away. I need that in writing, Jack. Hastings has the papers ready, I said. 1 hour later. The party was over. The guests had fled like rats from a sinking ship. The fancy cars were gone. In their place were 3 massive livestock transport trucks. I had them on standby. The air was filled with the sound of diesel engines and the lowing of cattle. Loaders were herding the prize Angus bulls and cows up the ramps. Tom stood by the fence, gripping the wood until his fingers bled.
He watched each cow go up the ramp. He was crying. Silent, defeated tears. Brenda and Bella were sitting on the patio, still sobbing, blaming everyone but themselves. I signed the final transfer document. I handed a copy to Tom. We're done here. I walked to the front gate. My sedan was parked there. But next to it, the flatbed tow truck from Miller's scrapyard was idling.
That was the price of disrespect. I walked over to the tow truck driver. Let's go, I said. I climbed into the passenger seat of the tow truck. I rolled down the window. I looked at the Harrington family one last time. Standing in the dust. Broke. Humiliated. And without their precious cattle. Hey, Bella! I shouted over the engine noise.